Good Shabbos. Page 128. Boi kala. Just sing these words with me. Boi kala. Boi. Just sing these words. Kala. Boi kala. I'll tell you when to look at the page. Boi kala. Boi kala. Boi kala, boi kala. And the words at the bottom of the page. Hachamame roshaila notni stalka, bo venetze likrat Shabbat hamalka. Hachamame roshaila notni stalka, bo venetze likrat Shabbat hamalka. Boi kala, boi kala, boi kala, boi kala.
Shalom.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos. Good evening. Welcome to Congregation Dor Tamid and our Friday evening Kabbalat Shabbat worship service. It is such a pleasure to be here with all of you here in our sanctuary, as well as all of you who are joining us through our virtual community as we enter into this Shabbat. I'm going to ask before we start, everybody just take a moment and do two things. First, we're going to turn off our cell phones and all of their electronic devices. And then just everybody, if you could take a breath. After the week that was, and truly after the month that was, we enter into Shabbat, hoping for, praying for this Shabbat to be a Shabbat Shalom, a Sabbath of peace, a day that we are given each week, and hopefully we can truly embrace it, that we are given as an opportunity to take a step back and rest and reflect and renew our souls. As we enter into this Shabbat, we know that many of us are here for a variety of reasons. Some of us are here because it's Shabbos, and we come together on Friday nights to be with our community, to welcome in this day of rest, this gift from our Creator. Some of us are here because there is a simcha this weekend, a joyous event in the life of one of our young people and the life of our community. As Levi, tomorrow you will join us on the bima, join Mike and I on the bima, as you will lead us in prayer and read from the Torah and then teach us from its ancient and sacred wisdom. And in doing so, we will call you a bar mitzvah, the newest adult member of the Jewish people. Some of us are here because we are saying prayers of healing. We are asking for God's healing presence to be with those we love, those in our immediate and also in our broader circles. Some of us are here because we are walking through the valley of the shadow, and we seek the comfort of our community as we walk that path of mourning together, but also in many ways alone. And many of us are here because we know what's going on in the world, and we want to be together on Friday night as we see what is going on in Israel and in our country and other countries around the world. And to that point, I want to welcome two guests tonight. State Representative Dr. Michelle Au, thank you for being here. And Reverend Brian Dowse, my friend and colleague, who is from Johns Creek Presbyterian Church and has a friend of ours who has been here many times, and thank you for being here as well. Thank you both for being here to be with us, to pray with us, and to show your support for our community. As we enter into Shabbat, we open our hearts to the heart of the world as we turn to page 128 and sing a song of love, Yedid Nefesh.
Yedid nefesh avarachaman, Yedid nefesh avarachaman, Meshoch avdecha el ritzonecha, Meshoch avdecha, Yalalalai el ritzonecha. ירוץ עבדך כמו אייל, ישתחווה יללי, לי אל מול עדרך. ידיד נפש הרחמן, ידיד נפש הרחמן, נשוך עבדך אל רצונך, משוך עבדך יללי אל רצונך.
As we do each week, we begin Shabbat by bringing light into creation. And to kindle our Sabbath lights, I'd like to invite Levi Grossman, our bar mitzvah, to the bima, along with his parents, Hank and Lauren, and his brother Jonah. Page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehatlikne shel Shabbat.
Page 124, we read responsively. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. We turn now in our prayer books to page 130 as we open up our service of Kabbalat Shabbat, entering into Shabbat with songs of joy as we sing together, Lechune Ranina.
Lechune Ranina l'Adonai, Nari aletzlo yishenu, Nikahat ma'afana b'toda, Bizmirot Nari alo, page 130. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash, Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash.
The mystics of Sfat used to teach that we were accompanied on Shabbat by the ministering angels. These angels would bring us blessings, goodness, of peace, And the good angel that would join us would look at our homes, look at our community, and if everything was going well, if there was peace and harmony in the home, that angel would say, may it be like this next Shabbat as well, to which the troublemaking angel would have to say, Amen. If the opposite was true, the family was fighting, if there was squabbling at home, if the kids hadn't made their beds, may have happened today. The troublemaking angel would say, may it be like this next Shabbat as well, to which the angel of blessing would say, Amen. So we welcome in the angels of Shabbat. We ask that they impart their blessings over us, that they come in with blessings of peace and goodness, of hope and justice, as we welcome them with the words of Shalom Aleichem, page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, V'melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Vochem l'shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barachuni l'shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zeichem l'shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. V'melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We turn now to page 145, and I'd like to invite Levi to the Bima to offer us this prayer.
Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. And just go away.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah V'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayechonu yom mechon U'v'chayei techol beit Yisrael Bagala Uvizman kari ve'imveru amen Yeshmei Rabba mevorach le'alam ulal me'al maya yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh ve'yitadar ve'yitaleh ve'yitalal Shemei dekudisha berichu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata na'amiran be'alma ve'immeru amen. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Barechu et Adonai Hamorach Baruch Adonai Hamorach Le'olam va'ed Yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai. Am I awake? Am I prepared?
Page 151, we read together at the bottom of the page. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadivarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yatecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha Lema'an tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'Elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Page 157, we read responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, osei melech, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Who is like you? Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? When Moses and the children crossed the sea, they sang to you with songs of joy. Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, Sefer Baruch Ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, page 160. Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu l'shalom. Leha'amidenu shomrenu l'chayim. Ofros alenu sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu l'shalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
We turn now to page 162 as we sing together these words from the Torah that remind us that this day of Shabbat has the ability to renew us and renew our souls.
Shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam b'rit olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam b'rit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam b'rit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam b'rit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat La'asot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam b'rit olam.
For the longest time, Micah would be out in the hallway and he'd hear those first chords and come running in. And tonight the tables turned that Ashley came running in for Vishamru. And then over in this side of the room, it was just wonderful to see 5- and 6-year-olds being thrown up and a 15-year-old being thrown up as well during Vishamru. We turn in our prayer books now to page 164 for the tefillah, for the central prayer section of our service. We will sing the opening psalm together and then continue silently in your own way, in your own space, through this section of the service When you're finished, I invite you to then please be seated, and we'll conclude with a prayer for peace. But first, we rise to enter into prayer.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Adonai sifatai tiftak Ufia gideilatecha Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ose shalom bimroma, uya ase shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimroma, uya ase shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimroma, huya ase shalom aleinu. Yase shalom, yase shalom, shalom aleinu. V'al kol Yisrael, yase shalom, yase shalom. Shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael. Ose shalom bimroma, uya ase shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimroma, uya ase shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimroma, uya ase shalom aleinu. Yase shalom, yase shalom, shalom aleinu. V'al kol Yisrael, yase shalom, yase shalom, shalom aleinu. V'al kol Yisrael, ose shalom b'romam, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu.
We pause now in our service to think of those members of our community who are ill. Some are in the hospital, some are at home recovering. Some have diseases and illnesses from which they may never recover. This Shabbat, we think especially of Susie Futterman, Diane Frontman, Anne-Marie Ross, Richard Jeline, Lynn Jeline, Linda Barton, Gerald Goldman, Mike Arnold, Adam Katz, Stephen Perel, Robert Lehrman, Sheila Fagis, Peggy Heinley, Irina Zamera, Adrian Traeger, Gloria Foreman, Diane Silverstein, Lee Silverstein, Ricky Baugh, Linda Hooper, Miriam Balus, Susan Rachel Stockel, Carmelo DeValle, Stacy Ford, Sandra Slovin, Marcia Heisler, Harriet Jacobs, Jonathan Waller, Catalina Deltet, Gary Swartz, Tom Bradford, Janelle Nichols, Robert Cohen, Brianna Jacobs, David Sankey, Stanley Bissell, Richard Jacobs, Brooke Jacobs, Carolyn Eisenhart, Larry Futterman, Marty Barish, Gary Paul, Brian Berger, Chandler Jacobs, Yael Bat David Valea, Alan Friedman, Sarah Kahn, Jill Vanteam, Eleanor Goodman, Libby Routman, Marjorie Whitmore, Jerry Phillips, Paul Kershaw, Reva Fisher, Leslie Knight, Bert Singerman, Mateo Velazquez, Max Jacobs, Kathy Waldner, Richard Zuspin, and Christopher Denton. If you are thinking of someone who is in need of a prayer of healing, I invite you to share their name with the community as my eyes meet yours, or if you're joining us online, to add their name at this time to the chat. You think of all we have named, all we hold in our hearts. We ask for God's healing presence to be with them. We also ask God to watch over victims of violence around the world. May they be blessed with health, healing, and hope. We ask for God to watch over those who care for the sick each day. May their hands and their hearts be blessed with compassion, wisdom, love, and support, as we ask God's healing presence to be with all of them and all of us as we turn to page 371 and offer this prayer of healing in the middle of the page.
Yishevera avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
There is a widely shared, if not entirely accurate, legend in the business world that the Chevy Nova failed to sell well in Latin American countries because the name Nova is very similar to the two Spanish words no va, meaning doesn't go. While this story really doesn't have much truth to it, it does tell us a good lesson that what we name something matters. And in the debate of moral equivalence that has been raging for this past month, words have been thrown around to try and justify a massacre that, while sounding good to those willing to cast blame, they do not, like the story of the Nova, hold truth. Apartheid, genocide, ethnic cleansing, colonialism. These words are being used by so many in the anti-Israel camp to justify the actions of Hamas and help change Israel from the victims of the atrocities and actions of October the 7th to the one who is causing the problem and perpetrating evil. So first I want to discuss why defining Israel as an apartheid state is not a proper distinction. Jay Sekulow, who is the chief counsel at the American Center for Law and Justice, wrote in his article why allegations that Israel is an apartheid state are false under international law, that one of the most highly charged accusations aimed at the state of Israel today is that Israel is an apartheid state that engages in widespread, state-sanctioned, racially motivated discrimination against the, and I'm going to use this in quotes because he did, the Palestinians, which term is understood to mean by Israel's accusers, and this is why he puts it in quotes, any Arab living anywhere under the confines of the former Mandate for Palestine, plus those identifying as Palestine who live elsewhere in the world. Yet an honest look at the facts utterly destroys such charges. Apartheid was the South African system that denied certain racial groups access to the political and judicial systems in their country, consigned them to inferior living spaces and educational opportunities, and controlled every aspect of their lives. He describes the living conditions and the rights that Arabs who live in Israel, those that hold Israeli citizenship, have. He states that Arab citizens of Israel enjoy the same rights as Jewish Israelis, including the right to form political parties and stand for election, opportunities to serve as members of the Knesset, the judiciary, the diplomatic corps, the police, and so on. Rights and privileges totally foreign and anathema to an apartheid state, thereby eviscerating claims of racial discrimination which underline apartheid. As such, differences in Israel's treatment of Arabs living in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip and Arab citizens of Israel are not, and indeed cannot be, racially motivated, for the simple reason that both groups of Arabs are racially identical, yet have different rights and privileges. For the claim of apartheid to be true, one would expect Israel then to devise racially discriminatory policies against all Arabs, which Israel does not do. But what about those Arabs living in the West Bank and Gaza? They are not treated the same as citizens of Israel, and they shouldn't be, as Palestinian residents of those territories do not claim allegiance to the state of Israel. Rather, they claim to be citizens of a future Palestinian state. And even then, those living in Gaza and the West Bank live in two wildly different circumstances. The West Bank is controlled today mostly by the Palestinian Authority, which is run by the Fatah party and its president Mahmoud Abbas. Within the West Bank, there are different security areas that were defined by the Oslo Accords and give the Palestinians living there different rights and abilities depending on their locations, which are designed as different security levels. Part of the West Bank is overseen security-wise completely by Israel. Part of the West Bank is shared by Israeli and Palestinian control, and part is overseen directly by the Palestinian Authority. Each of these areas has been designed and agreed to originally by both parties based on both security and administrative needs. Has Israel encroached on Palestinian areas by increased settler activity? Yes. Do I excuse it? No. Rather, I have called it out, as many of you know, from this bima on numerous occasions. However, in most of the West Bank, the Palestinian Authority has the ability, where the Palestinians are living, to police its own people, set up infrastructure, and hopefully work to develop a future state. And then there's Gaza, where this current war is focused. It's totally different. In 2005, Prime Minister Ariel Sharon, Zichrono Livracha, ordered the complete evacuation of Israelis, both military and civilian, from the territory known as the Gaza Strip, and he passed complete control of the Strip to the Palestinians. Then, in 2007, Hamas won an internal election and took over that territory. In the subsequent years, Hamas has had many opportunities and has been given untold billions of dollars in aid to help build an infrastructure, to help build a future state. But rather than help its people raise up out of poverty, Hamas has done three main things with that money. They have lined the pockets of their political wing, which resides not in the Palestinian territories, but in Qatar. They have built a network of tunnels underneath Gaza, many of which breach the borders of Israel and Egypt, and they're used to smuggle in weapons and currency and levy attacks on the state of Israel. And they have used the money to buy and build weapons, which they have used against the state of Israel. It is also important to remember that Hamas, the ruling party in Gaza, has been designated a terrorist organization by both the United States and European Union, a designation which bore fruit and was seen by the world on October 7th. And naming what Hamas is and what they have done publicly is so important, now and always, as they have sought to destroy Israel. Hamas is an organization who has crossed into the sovereign state of Israel and murdered over 1,400 people, including the elderly, children, killing not only Israeli Jews, but Israeli Muslim Arabs. It is a group that has fired thousands of rockets into civilian population centers of Israel, while a significant percentage of those rockets have missed and landed in Gaza itself. Hamas has diverted funds and supplies being given to the citizens of Gaza for its own personal and militaristic goals. And its very charter states, Israel will exist and will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it, just as it obliterated others before it. While its leader, in the days following the attack of October 7th, called for a day of jihad, not just against the state of Israel, but against Jewish people around the world. And yet Israel is the one accused of committing genocide. Genocide, we'll define now. It's a legal term. And in no way do Israeli policies and actions meet the legal threshold. Rather, the sensationalist use of the term genocide in relation to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is not only inaccurate and misleading, but it serves to demonize the state of Israel and to diminish recognized acts of genocide in history. This term was first introduced by the Polish Jewish lawyer Raphael Lemkin in 1944 with the construct of genos, meaning race or tribe, and side, meaning killing. Lemkin coined the term in response to the Holocaust, but also in reference to earlier events, including the Armenian genocide. The United Nations General Assembly recognized genocide as a crime under international law in 1946, and it was codified in the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in 1948. In the present convention, genocide means any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. A, killing members of the group. B, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group. C, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. D, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. And E, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. While one may oppose and even condemn particular Israeli policies or actions with regard to its Palestinian neighbors or its Israeli Arab citizens, the fact remains that in no way has Israel engaged in any action with the intent to exterminate the Palestinian people. Look at the numbers. When Israel gained control of the Gaza Strip in 1967, following the Six-Day War, there were 394,000 Palestinians living there. Today, there are more than 2.2 million. Hardly a genocide. Indeed, accusing Israel of genocide has the collateral effect of diminishing real acts of genocide, such as those that occurred in the Holocaust against the Armenians and in Rwanda. Furthermore, it is deeply concerning that Israel is often the only country in the world accused by activist groups of contemporaneously engaging in genocide. Not only is this false as a matter of both law and fact, but it also applies a singularly demonizing double standard to Israel. Finally, claiming as some do that there are many types of genocide, and Israel is, for example, committing cultural genocide, is equally problematic. Regardless of how the term is applied, it is clearly heard and impacts a large audience who hear it as the legal term intended to convey the most awful of human crimes: mass murder, population expulsion, a charge that is misapplied to Israel in this current conflict. And yet these are the words that we have heard flung at Israel in an effort to malign the Jewish state. As my colleague Rabbi Joshua Franklin said, it feels like much of our country has lost the true north of its moral compass. In the wake of the unprecedented terror attacks against Israel on October 7th, some of our country's brightest individuals proved to the world, he said, that intelligence cannot decipher moral clarity. It is true that every innocent life lost on either side is a tragedy. But to place the blame on Israel and to do it in a way that puts Israel at further risk, puts Jews around the world at further risk, puts us at risk, loses the plot. Instead of bringing condemnation on the terrorists, the attack has inspired a wave of anti-Semitism around the world and, most painfully, here in the United States. This glorification of a terrorist atrocity reveals a moral bankruptcy. The Anti-Defamation League reports that in the 2 weeks after the October 7th massacre, anti-Semitic incidents more than quadrupled over the same period last year. More than 100 mass rallies promoted support for the Hamas terrorists or violence against Jews in Israel. Online harassment has spiked. An airport in Russia saw a mob searching for Jewish and Israeli passengers. College campuses across this nation have seen anti-Semitic rallies led by their students and statements justifying the Hamas actions and calling for Israel to stand down have been issued by their faculty and administrations. The pictures of those kidnapped have been torn down in cities from coast to coast, and just today, the Israeli Foreign Ministry has given directions to its citizens abroad not to publicly wear anything that would denote them as Jewish or Israeli. I will be the first here to admit that I have in the past been critical of Israel and its government, even using my Rosh Hashanah sermon, my morning sermon this year, to discuss problems that I have with the Netanyahu government and what it had been doing to judicial reforms. However, when comparing Israel and its actions to those of Hamas, there can be no moral equivalency made. On the morning of October 7th, more than 1,400 civilians were killed, some in the most barbaric ways imaginable. And there's kids in the room, so I won't say them. Thousands of Palestinians have been killed since. And as one who believes that we are all created, B'Tselem Elohim, in the image of God, it is important to name that every innocent life lost is a tragedy. But when a senior Hamas official says that their tunnels were developed to protect Hamas fighters and that the safety of the Palestinian people is the responsibility of Israel and the United Nations, we can see who we're dealing with. When Hamas claims that it has no fuel to keep the hospitals running, but clearly has enough fuel to continue firing rockets into Israel and run the generators that power their tunnels of terror, we can see who we're dealing with. Because Hamas truly doesn't care about its own citizens either. It is merely, according to its own charter, focused on the destruction of the Jewish state. And when protesters, who we have marched beside, hand in hand, supporting their own fights for justice, criticize Israel for the loss of Palestinian civilian lives, when those citizens are being held captive by Hamas, without simultaneously criticizing Hamas for the murder of 1,400 Israeli civilians or calling for the Israeli hostages to be released immediately, we know who we're dealing with too. And yet all of these details seem to be lost on many. Lost on them because they don't really care about the Palestinians. For many who have come out in support of Palestine, claiming Israel is committing apartheid and genocide, claiming that they value the humanity and want the humanity of every individual to be protected, there is a deafening silence regarding Israeli civilians who were killed or are being held in captivity. As a Muslim friend of mine said recently, it is hypocritical to criticize Israel now for killing Muslims without criticizing Hamas, Assad in Syria, the Ayatollahs in Iran for the murder of Muslims as well. So it is up to each one of us, whether we are Jews, non-Jewish members of the Jewish community, or merely friends of our community and our congregation, to stand up and demand an end to the falsified outrage against Israel. Sarah Tuttle Singer, who is an Israeli journalist for the Times of Israel, wrote on her Facebook page this week, "Focus on the living, which is why I will not celebrate death, not ever, not even for my enemies. When a terrorist is killed, I will not weep, but I will not cheer or hand out candies. My Judaism doesn't allow that. My Judaism is a rhythm that began when my ancestors chose to focus on the world we have and the world we can create, a heaven on earth, our own messianic age. A world where we don't wait for redemption, God willing, but bring it on ourselves. It is clearly incumbent upon the Jewish community and those who are Ohavei Yisrael, lovers of Israel, to bring on this redemption. We bring on this redemption when we support Israel through our vocal support and our financial support. We bring it on, this redemption, when we support Israelis and Jews in our own community. We bring on this redemption when we stand up loudly and proudly to proclaim that anti-Semitism is an unjust evil that this world must be without, that there is no moral equivalency, and that the Jewish people deserve to have a homeland, side by side, in peace and security with its Arab neighbors, be'artzeinu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim, in our own land, in the land of Zion and Jerusalem. Please turn to page 552 as we rise for a prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu Shabashamayim, Sur Yisrael v'Gorlo, Barechet Midinat Yisrael Reshit Smichat Gulatenu, Hagen Aleha be'evrat chastecha, Ufros Aleha Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha v'Amitcha l'Rashecha, Tzareha v'Yotzecha, Tachnetz be'atzei tova milfanecha v'natata shalom ba'aretz, V'simchat olam liyoshveha v'nomar,
Amen.
Amen. O Heavenly One, Protector and Redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen.
Lord balevav penima, Nefesh Yehudi homia, Ulfate Mizrach kadima, Ain Letzion Sophia, Od lo avda tikvatenu, Atikva bat shenot alpayim, Liotam chofshi be'artzenu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim, Liotam chofshi be'artzenu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim.
We turn now to page 586 as we remain standing for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, lateit gedula liotze bereshit, shehu noteh shamayim v'yosed haaretz, u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim ima'al, u'shchinatu zo begove meromim, u'eloheinu einod, v'anachnu kore'im u'mishtachavim u'modim, Lipnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
Now, to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. In this sacred moment of our Shabbat evening worship, we think longingly and lovingly of those taken from us both recently and at this season in years past. We are in a period of Shiva, the first 7 days since their passing, of Elizabeth Jonas and Constance Dixon. Tyler and Janet, we stand to support both of you as a community today. We're also in a period of Shloshim, the first 30 days since their passing, of Scott Brown and Howard Mittler. And we mark the yahrzeits, the anniversary of their passing on this Shabbat, of William Ferguson, Bernard Green, Maida Horowitz, Maurice Lipson, Rabbi Selig Salkowitz, and Mary Serby. If you are remembering someone on this Shabbat, I invite you to share their name with the community as my eyes meet yours, or to add their name at this time to the chat. Zichronam livracha. May all of their memories be a blessing. As we take the memories of all we have named, all we hold in our hearts together, along with the memories of all those who were killed in southern Israel this past month, the Israeli soldiers who have been killed, and all the innocents, victims of violence around the world, we link them with the names and the memories of the millions of our people who have no one to say Kaddish for them. As we turn in our prayer books to page 598, rising as one community for the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach. Barach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei kudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tuj bechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Huya aseh shalom. Alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and comfort to all the bereaved here and everywhere with the blessing of peace. Together we all say, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav, huyaseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen.
Please be seated. Good Shabbos, everyone.
Shabbos.
It was wonderful being here with all of you. Thank you again to Representative Au and to Pastor Dowse for being here tonight. We really appreciate your presence with us on this Shabbat and your support and friendship in our community. Just a few brief announcements before Kiddush and Motzi and our closing benediction, our closing prayer. Tomorrow morning, as I mentioned earlier, we will celebrate a simcha when Levi Grossman will join Mike and I up on the bima, and he will lead us in prayer and read from the Torah and then teach us from its ancient and sacred wisdom. And in doing so, we will call him a bar mitzvah, the newest adult member of the Jewish people, during our 10:30 a.m. worship service. So we hope you will join us tomorrow morning as we continue celebrating Shabbat. On Sunday, religious school meets at 9 o'clock for our pre-K through 8th grade students. And then on Monday afternoon and Monday evening, Sunday afternoon, and Monday evening, we have a really phenomenal lifelong learning opportunity. Brendan Murphy, who is a history teacher at Marist School, will be joining us in presenting a two-part class, Understanding Anti-Semitism, Remembering the Past, Changing the Future. We will meet from 2 to 4 here in the sanctuary on Sunday afternoon, and then from 7 to 9 on Monday evening. Come to one, come to both, but we hope to see you for this really timely and what should be really an amazing learning opportunity. Monday, earlier in the day, though, we also have Mahjong at 1 o'clock. Tuesday, our knitting and crochet group meets at 1 o'clock. And on Wednesday, come study with our Tanakh study group. We're actually going to take a break this week from the book of 1 Samuel, and we're going to do a Ask the Rabbi about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So any questions about the history of the conflict, the history of Israel, I'm going to do my best. So 11 o'clock, we hope to see you there. We do Zoom it, so in case you can't make it but want to join in online, we hope you will be there for what should be a really interesting discussion. Then at noon, you can join the Sandwich Project to do a mitzvah to help feed the hungry in our kitchen. At 6 o'clock, C. Diddy, our senior youth group, has a pizza lounge night. At 6:30, our prime timers group will have dinner at the Windward Tavern. And at 7 o'clock, our 9th and 10th grade religious school students will meet for their next class sessions. Thursday, we have Mahjong both at 10 o'clock in the morning and at 7 p.m. And then next Friday, we have a lot going on for Shabbat. We have at 6:30 our new member dinner. At 7:30, our next musical Shabbat service, Songs of Israel, Songs of Hope. We hope you will join us for that. And then following that will be a special Oneg Shabbat sponsored by Leslie Radoff and the Bergers and the Harveys in memory of dear friends of theirs that they have lost in the past number of years. Next Saturday then is our Trivia Night social event. You can ask Ashley if you have questions about it, and you can sign up online. We like to give special thanks to those who have gone above and beyond and done a lot for our community. And this week I want to thank Lori Bradford, Janet Mann, and Vicki Levine for all the hard work they put into, and all their other volunteers, for the Mahjong Madness event that was this past weekend that I saw pictures of, and it looked like an enormous success. So thank you all for coordinating that event for us. There's a lot more coming up in the next number of weeks and months, so keep an eye on your email, on our website, on Facebook, on Instagram for all the things upcoming here at CDT. It is the first Shabbos of the month, which means it's birthday Shabbat. If you have a November birthday, I'm going to ask you to please rise.
Now we know why he came, just for the chocolate. Okay, we see you.
Yes. So as I come around, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself to the community. Tell us who you are, what day your birthday is, and if you're over the age of, let's say, 30, and you're willing to share how many years you are. We'll give some people the option, some we won't. All right, you are? Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Mazel tov. Friend?
Brian, and 5 years ago today, Facebook reminded me I got a chocolate bar here as well. And I was turning 35 then, so we'll just...
Mazel tov.
Ira Man, number 19, double me.
Mazel tov. Nice and loud.
November 30th.
How old?
No.
All right, mazel tov. And I think we got one more. Mazel tov.
Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday to all of you wonderful folks. Happy birthday to you.
To help lead Kiddush and Motzi, I'm going to invite any young person in the congregation who has not yet celebrated becoming a bar bat mitzvah. So Levi, this is your last one. To come to the bima as we turn in our prayer books to page 123 and we rise for Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam vorei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikra kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim ki vanu v'acharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol hamim B'Shabbat kodshecha b'yava u'v'ratzon hinchalatanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat l'chaim. Amotzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Amotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon.
For our closing prayer, our closing benediction, our closing song, all together, a prayer for peace, the bottom of page 657. Please join us.
Od yavo shalom aleinu, Od yavo shalom aleinu, Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, Od yavo shalom aleinu, Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od yavo shalom aleinu, Od yavo shalom aleinu, Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam.
Shabbat shalom.
Good Shabbos.